Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to the Xbox Factor podcast. I am one of your hosts, Mr. Boomstick XL, and we have a 90-minute plus show packed with not only amazing podcasters and panel members, but we have some pretty cool and interesting, and of course, hashtag fun topics that should take your mind off of world situations that are just getting tiresome of hearing each and every day. So we had to kind of maybe boost you up, if you will. So let me get into the introduction so we can get right into the topics of today. My co-host with the co-most, the man who has no fear, and he is someone who will be destroying Resident Evil 3 this Friday evening at midnight, no less, with the headphones on. Please welcome Semi Games.
With the headphones on, in the dark, at night. No, none of that's going to happen.
I love it.
I have a lot of fears, and that's definitely one of them. But Boom, I'm super excited to be here, man. I mean, as always, the topics are just complete fire. Cannot wait to dive in. So I'm super excited to be here, man. Thanks.
Oh, well, thanks for being here as always, and making his return appearance to the Double Barrel Gaming Network, but also his first appearance on the Xbox Factor podcast. You know him as someone that represents the Sony brand in a proper manner, someone who holds his love of Sony to the point of the best fandom possible. But what I love about having this guy on is because he not only plays and enjoys Sony products, he enjoys other consoles as well. And he's not afraid to talk bad or give, I guess, the business to Sony when they make mistakes. Please welcome Mr. Badbit.
What's up, guys? Yeah, I'm very happy to be here. Boom! Every time you ask for me to be on, it's always absolutely, man. I'm so happy to be here. So we got a lot of crazy news as well to talk about. So I'm again super stoked to be on.
Well, it's great to have you on, dude. Obviously, you know, one of the bigger requests that I get from many of the community members and, of course, you know, people that are in the chat is that they want to see me have more Sony people on. And, you know, I hate saying Sony people, Xbox people, Nintendo people. I think we're all gamers at the end of the day. Absolutely. But I will say that I find to be very impressive about your channel and very impressive about you as a content creator is that you play very fair ball. Mm-hmm. And if Microsoft makes a mistake, and I think both Zemi and I have been very upfront about this, we will give them the business.
Yep. And
we will do it in a fair and respectful manner. And that goes for you as well. When you talk about Sony on your channel, which, you know, obviously you know, that's your bread and butter, so to speak, you will give them the business when it's necessary. You don't overhype. You don't over critique or criticize. You call it pretty much right down the line. And I think that's why having you come on these shows is super important. So you know what, we're gonna start off a little differently.
Good.
We're gonna talk about what we've been playing, and again, because this is an Xbox show, doesn't necessarily mean it has to be on Xbox or you're out. So I'm actually gonna go first because I've been on social media talking about this, and I purchased Terminator Resistance.
Ooh.
And I gotta tell you, folks, I paid $30. It's right now it's $40 on Xbox Live. And it's currently, I used $10 of Xbox points that I cashed in from playing games and going to Bing and doing, you know, different, you know, activities to kind of rack up the points. I cashed in $10 worth. And I said, you know, for $30, how bad could this be if you're a fan of the Terminator, which of course I am. So I started playing it, and it does start off a little slow. And I'm like, okay, this is in no way, shape, or form a AAA game. But does it matter? And the answer is it absolutely does not. I am about 5 or 6 hours deep into it, and I got to tell you that the Fallout 4 vibes that I get with a Terminator exoskeleton theme thrown over it is really there. It is not a heavy RPG game, but there are RPG elements. The shooting mechanics, you know what? For I guess a budgeted game, the shooting is actually pretty good. And here is where I think Zemi is going to step out from the conversation and then work his way back in. When you're fighting the spider droids, okay, not a big deal. When you fight, if you're fighting the little ones that are like landmines, no big deal. When you are being stalked by a T-800, the fear factor starts to come in. There was a particular mission where had to save some prisoners within a Skynet base, and I gotta tell you, at the end, escape from the base. There must have been in one area at least 15 of those things walking around, and you had to stealthily, hide behind cars and not be seen. And I gotta tell you, it was quite tense, to be honest with you. And I'm like, wow, for a game that really no one talked about. This game came out in December, and no one even blinked an eye. I mean, because obviously there hasn't been a ton of really good Terminator games. But I have to say, I put a tweet out there, guys, and I just bought this, and in caps, don't judge me. Just being facetious, having a little fun with the community. And I have to tell you, the amount of positive playthroughs that I got on this one tweet from people within the community that both follow me and were just, passerbyers was incredible. I don't really think I saw one negative comment. So I have to say that I even stopped. I'm at the end of Doom. The Doom Eternal is obviously going to be in many people's conversations for Game of the Year. And I found every secret in the game. So I'm up to the last level. I'm about to beat it. And I said, you know what? I kind of want to give Doom a break. Let me play Terminator because I really want to play this. I cannot put this down. Guys, for you personally, first, and I'll start with Bad Bit. Are you a huge Terminator fan? And if this happened to be on sale, would you consider it a purchase?
For me, I don't want to say the biggest fan of Terminator, but I love the series. I haven't watched the latest one, but I really, really want to.
Really good. That's surprisingly really good.
That's what I've been hearing. It's like a return to form because the last one, what was it? Genesis? Yikes. So
that one's not so good.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately when it comes to the Terminator, it's just a whole lot of franchise fatigue after so many not great entries into that franchise. So for me, I remember the days of the movie tie-in game. So this I would step away from. I'll check it out maybe if it's 2015 around there, that type of range. But no, what you're telling me, that sounds pretty dope. And I would love to see what a high budget Terminator game.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, me too. Look, I will say this. Okay, look. It doesn't have top tier graphics, but it's telling a top tier story. I'm going to be honest with you. There are tons of side quests. Some people will call them fetch quests, but get the antibiotics for Jimmy, who's going to lose a leg if we don't. Right? Go find a toy for the kid. But in between of these side missions, there's an overall arcing story that's talking about John Connor. And your particular character has also been set up for termination. So there is a T-800 that's stalking you, almost like Mr. X. I've only had one encounter with him, and there's hacking. There's some cool hacking mini games that I thought were pretty cool for the game. Mm-hmm. You start off with your standard M16, your shotgun, your handgun, but then you start getting some Terminator-esque weapons. And I got to tell you, man, the sounds are right out of the movie. Awesome. And the RPG elements, they're pretty interesting because there's a whole subset of points that you get for leveling up, and you can use it for explosions, for resistance, for endurance, for crafting, because there's a crafting element to there where you can make bombs and health packs and all kinds of stuff. It's really surprisingly deep for a budgeted game. I have to say I was a little taken aback, and to be honest with you, the moment-to-moment action is pretty freaking cool. I'm starting to see much a wider range of Terminators, and it's not just T-800s, it's not just the spider droids. There are a bunch of really big tank ones that you got to avoid. There's even a stealth element where you actually got to take pictures of certain things to bring back to the resistance. This, again, for a budgeted title, there's a lot going on here, dude.
Yeah. Now, like, I'm looking at the gameplay right now, and it does give me, and I mean this with somehow a compliment. Alien Colonial Marines, it gives me that type of vibe. With
I actually like that game. I know people gives it a ton of crap. I actually really enjoyed that.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So like that's what, like, how the guns look kind of gives me that vibe. But like I dig what I'm seeing. Holy yeah, like yeah, I just saw a Terminator who was like disguised as a person, but like his flesh was just off. That's dope.
Yeah, you know, again, it's surprisingly fun. Let me get Zemi in here. Zemi, any thoughts of the Terminator? Is it a franchise that you were interested in? And if you saw this game, I mean, first of all, it'd be great if it came to Game Pass because everyone could play it then. Yeah. If you support Game Pass. But are you a fan of the Terminator?
Oh man, I'm a huge fan of the Terminator. I haven't seen like a lot of like the more recent movies. I think I've watched obviously the first, second, and third one, and then there was another one that came out after that, and it took place like I guess at like the in the future, and they were fighting Terminators and all that different stuff. So I mean, I am a pretty decent Terminator fan, and I actually thought about buying that game, and whenever I was looking it up, it didn't really seem too scary or creepy to make me not necessarily play it. But you kind of have me going back on that statement you talking about stealthing around, like these big monstrous T800s. Like, so my question, like, is there open world environments in it?
Yes. As a matter of fact, you leave the base and you start searching like Fallout. You go into burnt buildings and you go into back of burnt ambulances and you find different equipment. When you kill a Terminator, there's an aspect to level up their weaponry, where you're pulling chips off of them, off of the T800s and the other flying drones, and you upgrade your equipment. And like I said, I mean, listen, it's not cool when you're trying to hide and there's 7 of them in the area and you got to kind of go from, you know, like a little mouse from one corner to the other. I mean, there's Terminators with flamethrowers, the regular, you know, rocket launchers and the laser guns, the Gatling guns. But man, I gotta tell you,
it sounds sick.
I cannot stop playing this. And, you know, Bad Bit brings up I mean, if this was a full-fledged AAA budgeted game, this might be the best IP licensed game ever to release if it had some money behind it. Because I got to tell you, no one talks about it, but a lot of people have played it and enjoyed it.
Yeah, I actually thought about buying it. I thought about buying it a while ago. I just never bid on it, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, I am a big Terminator fan. I always enjoyed the movies, and I really, really thought about buying it. I don't know. I guess I just threw it in the back of my mind, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, it's food for thought. Give it a look. Go on YouTube, watch the video, see if it's for you. Maybe wait for another sale, because obviously the longer this thing goes on, the more sales we're going to wind up coming across. And this, I'll put it this way: if you can find this for $20, and I'm going to tell you this, finding the physical copy, good effing luck in that, because if you get one, do not open it. Leave it sealed and come back to it in about a year. You'll sell that game for $300. I'm telling you right now. That's how rare it is. It is crazy rare.
Okay.
So you know what, Ben? Because you're the guest. What have you been playing?
So, man, I'll talk about the first one for just a second, because it's what we've all been kind of playing, right? I have in Xbox terms. 1K'd Doom Eternal.
Oh, nice, dude. Wow, really?
Yeah, man. I love that game so freaking much. I'll be making a little bit like of a discussion video about it to go into depth, but it does everything the first one does better.
Yeah,
it's
leaps and bounds better.
Yeah, it's faster. The way that the arenas are set up makes it so that you can fight more aerial. The abilities that they give you right off the bat, it never makes you feel like you're slugging through a level because of your abilities. The dash is an incredible way of traversing the levels. The only small critiques that I have is that the Marauder character, I know it's become a meme, but
the mother.
yeah, man.
Wow,
He's
it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, like Doom is such a great game because you're reacting in such a proactive way.
Yes.
And the Marauder is the only character in that whole game where
don't you feel like it slows down the entire game when you're fighting him?
You're
really
just
does.
Straight up. You're all of a sudden through this incredibly offensive game now having to be defensive, and having to switch that off is just annoying. And the way that they describe him, what you're actually supposed to do is when you shoot him and stun him, you're actually supposed to go behind him and then shoot him with the shotgun. And that actually puts him in a stun lock. So that's the only like small thing. Some of the levels as well, the platforming elements are just fine. They're not, they're not blowing my socks off. But the problem with the platforming elements is it makes some of the levels just feel a little long in the tooth. Like some of these levels could be shortened by at least 10 to 15 minutes. And I feel like it would be perfect. Other than some of the boss fights not being the best, when it comes to just the pure gameplay of Doom, it's fan-freaking-tastic.
Yeah.
Then I decided, look, I'm very casual when it comes to Nintendo. I love Nintendo. They make the best first-party games, hands down. There's one game that I have never played, and I've judged.
I know what you're going to say, but talk about it. Let's go.
Animal Crossing.
Yes,
New Horizons.
I knew it.
Guys, I don't know what it is about this game, but I'm so in. I just unlocked.
Are you addicted to it? Like, do you honestly? I mean, look, I've never played Animal Crossing. I've had so many people in this community say, "Boom, you please buy this game," and I am like on the razor's edge of buying my first Animal Crossing game because there's so much goodness flowing out of the screen every time I see someone post something. I'm like, how am I missing this?
Yep. It is so wholesome. That's the thing. Like in the climate that we're in right now, we need wholesomeness.
Yes,
and that's what this game provides so much. And there's also, and I know this is going to sound like the weirdest like comparison, but it gives me, wait for it, gang, please hold your laughter, Destiny vibes in the way that it is the grind. You're in it for what you're seeing, right? Like you want to get that gun in Destiny. Like you want to get Thorn because man, it looks so cool. And everybody that has it rocks with it, right? Like you're seeing that armor set and you want to grind for it. And that's what Animal Crossing does to a T. It's all about grinding for the next best thing, but doing it in a very wholesome and just fun-loving way. And honest to goodness, it has my full attention right now as I wait, ironically, for Resident Evil 3 and Final Fantasy 7. Like, this is a game that I've just 2 days ago was just stuck in bed just playing for hours because it's just
it's awesome. I love it.
It's a nice turn your brain off and just, I don't know, make a house. That's it. That's all I got.
You know what?
Yeah.
There is nothing wrong with that. What you're talking about is fun.
Yep.
In a world, in a situation that, look, I'm going to be 50 years old. I am definitely the old man in the room.
Mm-hmm.
I have someone that firsthand experienced 9/11 and the residual effects of the department and this city well after the incident. And I am telling you, I have never in my life seen what this current world is going through and what's okay. There's two ways to look at what's going on. One, from a negative point of view, it is something that does not discriminate against race, creed, color, religion, age, sexual preference.
Yeah.
This thing is ravaging the entire world. What's promising, and this is where I like to always say my glass is half full, is that because this is not a race problem, because this is not a continent problem, because this is not a country problem, because this is a world-related issue, I'm happy to say and think in hopeful thoughts that the world's greatest minds are working together right now to come to an understanding and beat this thing. And I think with that said, games like Animal Crossing that are lighthearted and fun and talk about togetherness and just plain joy is something that we currently need. So I super appreciate you bringing it up, and I got to be honest with you, you just pushed me over the Rager's edge. F it! After this podcast, I'm gonna go buy it digitally, and I don't give a shit.
Like, honest to God, it takes a minute. You're like, okay, what's going on here? Like, they don't everything is just like, here's the tools, just figure it out for yourself, just have a good fun time. And it is, again, it took me like a bit to like an hour or two to like sink my teeth into, but like once it clicked, I'm like, I'm digging this. And like Timmy and Tommy, man, those old raccoons, I love them so much.
You know what's crazy? Because I'm such a Nintendo freak. I'm one of my passions is the amiibos. I have a dedicated shelf that's 7 feet tall. It's got eight shelves and it's packed. I haven't taken a new picture. I'm actually gonna do that and post it. I own every amiibo. I'm missing, I want to say maybe about a dozen of them. Some special edition ones from Japan that I don't have. Crazily enough, unbelievably enough, I own every Animal Crossing amiibo ever released, and I've never played the game. Damn it! So now I'm going to change that, and I'm going to buy it right after this show. So real quick, let's bring in Zemi Games. Zemi, obviously this is supposed to be a fun segment of lightheartedness, if you will, even though I was talking about Terminators hunting you and completely backed you out of the conversation. What have you been playing?
Oh, I don't play games. No, I'm joking.
Oh, no, you don't play games. Okay.
No, so yesterday, a game came out called Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord, and it came out early access for Steam, and I've been like following this game's development for like the last 2 years, and I just had to jump on it, so I bought it, and I sunk in probably 6-7 hours yesterday into it. It's just fantastic. It's kind of hard to describe the game, but it's like an open world game that kind of has some RPG strategy and simulation like mechanics to it. You basically create a character and you kind of just do whatever you want. You can become a vassal to like a king and take control of like a village or a castle or a city and rule that castle and do different things. Or you could become a trader and just go from, castle to castle, trading goods, start up a caravan, whatever you want to do. You could also become like a mercenary and just fight for different lords all over I guess like the map, the land, or you can become like a bandit, and it's just it's an amazing game. It has single player, it also has multiplayer, but I haven't even tried that out yet. But I've just been sinking a ton of time into that. It's fantastic. But also I started playing the Wolfenstein games. I played the first one on PlayStation a while ago, but I started back with the first one again just so I can scrounge up any achievements. And then I actually just went ahead and purchased another game today. It's called The Complex, and I'll definitely be playing that a little bit later on tonight. So I'm super excited about that. But most of my time, I think, is going to be going into Mountain Blade Bannerlord.
Nice. Well, listen, you know what? Again, you need something to kind of pass the time, and there's nothing like forgetting about the world's issues or even your own personal issues and sinking it into a game that just you have a lot of fun with. Like I said, I know Terminator may not be the AAA banger we all hope it is, but that game really has my attention. And I honestly, I was playing literally up until I jumped on the mic. I'm like, okay, guys, we got to go live. Let's get the show on the road. So, you know what? That's going to do it for this particular part of the show. Again, something lighthearted and fun. But you know what? I want to bring up something that came across my radar late yesterday, and I have to thank Idle Sloth. He is a community member that not only when he tweets something, it gets ridiculous amounts of traffic, but he always seems to be on the cusp of a breaking story. Even if it doesn't pan out to be a factual thing. He does post that it is a rumor, and I got to give the guy a lot of credit because he's always at the forefront of new information. And look, let's get right into it. Okay, first of all, we have to look and see that what's been making waves, I should say, across the entire gaming space is the unconfirmed rumor that Microsoft's huge E3, or a piece of Microsoft's scheduled and planned huge E3 2020 announcement, was leaked in full detail. So you say, wait a second, Boom, I didn't see this. Well, calm your jets. It's one small aspect of what they were going to announce, but we're going to break down exactly what that is. Now, listen. For a company that no longer makes games and only builds gym equipment and slot machines in Japan, Konami has been on the tips of every gamer's tongue who in the last couple of, I would say the last week or so. At the end of last week on Breakfast with Boom, if you missed it, we talked about the rumors that Sony was going to buy Silent Hill, Castlevania, and the Metal Gear franchise from Konami. Konami came out and immediately debunked this. They debunked that rumor, but they also debunked that there were 2 exclusive Silent Hill games that they were going to be released through the Sony banner. And that, of course, what came into the conversation was that Kojima's Productions was going to be continuing the work on Silent Hills. And I clearly stated on last Friday's show, it's extremely unlikely that's ever going to happen. That man, unfortunately, he has too much pride, and Kojima himself would never work on a Konami product, nor would Konami ever allow Kojima to work on a Konami project, simply because they split such, so nasty. Obviously it's very public, and there was a lot of real nasty stuff done between the two. Mostly Konami was the bad guy because they kind of really ousted this guy, but we don't know the inside baseball. But we're not going to go into that. What we are going to go into is this. Now, this particular week, new and even more detailed information that did not accompany the original Sony rumor has made its way to the interwebs, and people are starting to talk. Now, here is the direct quote pulled from pastebin.com, of all places, titled Xbox E3 Spoiler. Now, you would imagine that the poster is anonymous. Wow, what a surprise, folks. So before I get into the panel and the chat regarding this, this is exactly what was said in this post. Tonight, between 10 p.m. and midnight Eastern Standard Time, Microsoft will finalize the purchase of the entire gaming catalog from Konami. The deal they've been working towards is so expensive for Microsoft that it will single-handedly fund a new manufacturing facility Konami has been waiting to build to focus on new R&D for gambling devices. Microsoft will have to keep paying royalties back to Konami on all games that Konami originally released, including future remasters. Only new games made from the ground up will be fully profitable for Microsoft. Konami will also retain the rights to create new gambling hardware based on any previous adult M-rated theme game they've released. In the deal, Microsoft will be able to select a team from potential layoff employees after the sale to help found a new studio in Chow City. Konami will allow for the current Xbox Game Studios Tokyo as a satellite office for 12 to 18 months on the second floor of their current headquarters in Chow City, while Microsoft finalizes the plan to move to and or construct their own studio space. Now, why this is interesting and preposterous all at the same time is because Microsoft, if they purchase someone, they're not allowing the Konami to retain rights to anything, and they're not paying royalties on IPs that they own. They're not doing that. What's interesting is the Chow City mention. What's more so interesting is how they've called this the Xbox Game Studios Tokyo. And why there is even any relevance to this preposterous post is because we know for a fact since 2018, Phil Spencer himself has gone over to Japan at least a dozen times. That's what we know. And we know that they've talked about buying a studio. We know that we've heard rumors and speculations and opinions, especially mine, that what they need to do in Japan is grow their roots. And what I mean by that is to create a quadruple A studio in the size, scale, and scope of the initiative, but using and acquiring the Japanese talent from that region of the world, which quite frankly, there are tons of Japanese talent, some of which that worked exclusively with Xbox during the 360 days. And we know how some of those JRPGs turned out. Lost Odyssey is one that people are still calling for a sequel. Blue Dragon, whether you loved it or hated it, was fantastic, at least for me anyway. So to get talent of that caliber, and especially, there's the pool of JRPGs in that region, one could suggest that maybe Microsoft would be billing in a couple of years through this new quadruple A studio in Tokyo to start and finish the game that Platinum couldn't finish in Scalebound. I mean, again, this is a complete speculation on my part, but let's get into this leak, and I'll start with Badbit. Badbit, obviously, coming from this, from obviously you covered this, and I think that it's safe to say that if Sony would have gotten their hands officially on either of those or all three of those IPs, it would be a big deal for Sony, because already they are stacked with first party bombs, right? That we already know what they're going to be bringing in the next generation, and quite frankly, I'm tickled pink. But to add the potential of these three big IPs to the to their already ridiculous list of games would be a staggering hill to try and climb. That unfortunately was denied and pretty much brought to a screeching halt by Konami, who responded publicly, and they normally don't. But now we're hearing Microsoft could be in the line to purchase their entire IP lineup, which again, there's a lot of holes in this story, but I start to wonder when they start getting into the specifics of Chow City and calling it the Xbox Game Studios Tokyo. Now my eyebrow is raised like The Rock. What are your thoughts on this?
So we covered this a bit on the Trophy Room a few weeks back with Benji Sales, and we kind of came to the conclusion that, I'll break it down. If Sony bought Konami, let's just say that, it would be weird, right? And I think there's a lot of promise to it, because you see a name like, Kojima, you see Metal Gear, and then you see maybe the possibility of Metal Gear coming back into the fold with Sony, Kojima working together on it. You see like PT, and you think Silent Hills, and you see Konami, and you think, okay, this is awesome. This is fantastic. Now, if Microsoft bought them, it would also be fantastic. They got 3 IP right off the bat that they can go and start making things for. The reason why I thought the whole PlayStation Konami purchase was kind of silly was, well, the cheaper solution, if I'm a businessman, is just to rent out the IP like you're doing with Spider-Man at the moment, right? Making a deal like Silent Hills and seeing it go through kind of gave me the illusion that I don't think Sony is in a position where they have to buy Konami or anything like that, because they have their own IP. They could go back to the well. They could make a spiritual successor and just call it that, right? Like, all you need to do to make an awesome Silent Hills game is not even to have the IP. It's just to have the creator that has made Silent Hills, and then all of a sudden people are going to call it spiritual successor, right? Yes, you don't need Metal Gear Solid for Kojima to be weird with. So right off the bat, I thought those rumors were weird. I think, you're right. Like, Kojima has way too much pride to go back to the well, where now he can be as weird as he wants. So when I'm thinking of Microsoft purchasing Konami, the first thing that goes out the door, where this is actually tangible and real, is where they said that they're finalizing the deal and they're signing the paperwork as of right now. If that was to happen, it would be public knowledge.
Yes, it would be. Yes,
there would be a press release. So, like, to go back to Sony for 1 second here, when Sony bought Insomniac, right as they bought it, they had a press release following it because it was public knowledge. So I don't know how the In Exile or the Ninja Theory announcements were, but they were probably in talks for a while and then signed the paperwork while they were getting on stage to announce it. So to have this grand plan a few months out about announcing Konami's purchase and having it there, it's just too convenient. With that said, would it be totally cool if Microsoft had these IP? Yeah, a part of me would think it's cool because Konami's Konami and they only care about pachinko machines. But at the same exact time, we don't need to go back to the well. Like, I don't, like, when it comes to Silent Hill, when it comes to Metal Gear, I think that becomes a hard sell for people, because if it's not Kojima, if it's not the original creators of Silent Hill, not a lot of people are going to tune in for that, right? Like, we saw it with Metal Gear Survive.
That was an abomination. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. So, like, you see when Konami or other studios try to take the helm of these franchises, that doesn't always go the way that they want. So to me, I know Microsoft's been shopping around. I know, like, the latest company that they tried to purchase and something fell through was Platinum Games. So I think they're shopping around for developers in Japan. I don't think that they're going to wholesale purchase these huge publishers. I don't know if that would work in their favor. And if I'm a business guy, I'm thinking it also profits wise. I don't think, again, I can make a spiritual successor to a Metal Gear Solid and have that without having to go out and buy probably a multi-million or multi-billion, whatever deal, or probably be multi-million. What am I saying? Multi-million-dollar deal to just get the IP when you can probably just make it from the ground up.
You're actually onto something when you say that, because we do have limited information and theory and speculation that they're doing a remake or a reboot of Joanna Dark and Perfect Dark. So even though they're telling two separate stories, they kind of walk the fine line together, if you will.
Yeah.
Even though one is Snake and obviously one is a female in Joanna Dark. So that's a great point, because being that, would they want a second spy / action game when they can do it without having to pay the millions of dollars for the Metal Gear IP that we know Konami isn't using right now, when they're already potentially doing their own spy-esque reboot of an IP they currently own. So yes, that from a business point of view, again, it would not make dollars and cents, so to speak.
Yeah, and you're also gonna have, like, for like the purchase of Rare, purchasing those stocks from Nintendo and company. Also, though they have so many tremendous IPs, they at the same exact time still one developer.
Yes.
And when they purchased Rare, a lot of the OG Rare guys left, and that company needed to rebuild its culture. And so seeing Konami being purchased by Microsoft doesn't automatically assume that the next Castlevania is a banger, that the next Silent Hills is a banger, or Metal Gear, or whatever have you. Again, like, if I'm Microsoft, if I'm Sony, I'm thinking, hey, how do we get these legendary creators to make something new for us, to make something different for us? That's what I'm thinking, rather than going, I'm gonna literally make a deal with the devil with Konami. So to me, again, I would love to see Microsoft build a culture in Japan and actually try to fight for it. Because when you see the numbers of just like 1,000 or 1,000 PlayStations sold, 1 million Switches sold last week, and then you go 57 Xboxes sold, you're like, damn, like first I want to meet those 27 people, but like the other side of me is like, I would love to see them be competitive. Like I would love to see Xbox make a very hardened deal to purchase Persona or not purchase Persona, but purchase the rights to have that game on their platform.
Yeah,
like,
that's a great point. Yeah.
You need to be, and I think what Microsoft, and you're seeing them do with things like Game Pass and making deals with Square Enix, is they're not trying to necessarily be combative in Japan, but they're trying to get the audiences, the Western audiences that are into JRPGs into their camp. And that's what I feel like they're trying to do, because you could gain some support in Japan, but what you really want to do is take the audience that is on PlayStation solely for JRPGs or something like that, and to make a compelling argument for them. So like if I'm Phil Spencer, I'm trying to shake hands with Atlas. I'm trying to shake hands with From Software. Like that's what I'm trying to make friends with.
Well, look, I've said this from the beginning. I love the aggressive behavior that we have seen from Microsoft in regarding to basically making their first-party developers extremely stout. One of their Achilles heels, or several of, one of the major Achilles heels, if you will, was first-party output. And the reason why, the Xbox One suffered was because they just didn't have enough players in the game, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And the pressure to deliver on time and at AAA quality, with only 343 and the Coalition and a few others, it just was not cutting the mustard. So they had to add. Now, in regard to Japan, it is an avenue that we have seen the company fail terribly. It failed with the OG Xbox. It failed horrendously with the Xbox 360, and it failed just as bad with the One. Now, when you bring into the equation Project X Cloud, where they're going to be pushing a service and their games to a culture that has completely moved away from home consoles to being gaming on the go, and offering that at $15 a month, if they can get those Blue Dragon / Lost Odyssey type games in this service, they're going to sell that service to these mobile players. And how they're doing that is through Crossfire X, which is going to be huge. As well as, of course, Phantasy Star Online 2. Now, granted, I think it's a 14-month exclusive that Phil Spencer worked out with Sega, and it's doing very well right now. It did crazy numbers during the beta. People like the Tempest Son, who's a part of Primetime Gaming, him and his wife cannot get enough of that title. And it's going to be big. So if you put those two games into Game Pass, which I suspect is going to be the case, you're going to attract an audience, an Asian audience that you could not attract before with your Halos and your Gears of War. It's just not their cup of tea. So when you talk about I'm not sure if you mentioned it. I know I said it earlier. And I think you would agree with this, planting roots in Asia, in Japan specifically, would be big for Microsoft, because it would be a homegrown studio that could focus on what the region is attracted to. Now, whether that's JRPGs, whether that's fighting game, whatever they decide to do, the culture of that studio would be at its heart from Japan, because it's homegrown. The people running the studio are from that region of the world, and I think that's one of the things Microsoft really needs to do.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head there. Is the most important thing that Microsoft can do is build their streaming infrastructure, make sure that you're on every mobile phone that you can. That's how you're going to win over the Eastern audiences, is offering a solution that is literally in the palm of their hands.
Yes.
And again, coupled with making the deals that a Microsoft could make with individual developers. I think that's how you sell it to them, rather than buy out a publisher outright.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Zemi Games, let's get you in here, because we're going to attack a particular topic from two aspects. The first of all, with literally and certainly no proof to any of this, the validity factor is probably at 10% at best, right, or even single digits to how real this is. But with that said, it's still worth a conversation that if Microsoft were interested in possibly licensing out a particular IP to have one of their first party studios do it with the ideology that, yes, it is still Konami's IP, but they're licensing it out to have their own first party do it. We've seen Sony do this before. This isn't a new strategy if they didn't want to outright buy it. And who's to say what studio is going to do it? But with that said, talking about the rumor, do you think it would be financially responsible or even logical for Microsoft to want to purchase Konami's first party IPs that they're doing nothing with?
I mean, I think it kind of depends on the way that they do it. With how the deal is currently rumored to be set, I don't think so, and I think there's a lot of risk in that, right?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Because obviously, we're living in an age of remasters, okay, right? Like everyone loves all these new remasters, whether whatever the IP may be, right? And that would be Microsoft's easy way of making, a lot of money to help bounce back from this deal, right? But automatically, Konami is going to take a cut right off of that with royalties, right? So that's a huge disadvantage to Microsoft. Another thing is, okay, they have the right to make the any new games, and they get full profit off of that, right? But at the same time, Konami has the ability to use the mature, like the rated M for mature titles on their gambling games, and that's a little bit of a risk as well, because let's say that Microsoft is developing a new Metal Gear Solid or Silent Hill or something like that, and Konami, in conjunction with that, are producing a new gambling machine that is not exactly, I guess, what Xbox would want them to do. It could possibly hurt. I guess what I'm trying to say is Konami could possibly hurt the brand that, or the franchise that Xbox owns, and it could impact game sales. So I think that there's way too much risk here. Xbox isn't getting enough. And to me, it just there's something really off about this rumor. You and me, we were talking about before the show. In an article, it was kind of being talked about. This was what was going to be showcased during E3 2020 for Xbox. But the problem with that is, if that is where you're getting the leak from, then how do you know all of these very, very deep business things, right? How do you know all of the terms of this business arrangement or this business deal? Because they would not be disclosing that to consumers on the stage at E3, right? They just wouldn't.
Yeah.
So this whole rumor, leak, whatever, just raises up more questions than not, and it doesn't really seem to really have any validity in my mind. There's just something really, really off with it. It just does not seem. It gives very Konami plausible.
Yeah, it gives Konami way too much power in the relationship. Yeah. Where if you're purchasing something, it's just yours. One would assume, right?
Well.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, another thing to also remember as well is, looking at all the studios Xbox has bought, they were either small studios or studios kind of down on their luck, right?
Yep.
And Konami isn't really. I mean, Konami. I mean, I'm sure they've had more profitable years, in the past, but they're still making a good profit off of what they're doing. They're still a stable business from the research I was looking at. And so, from that point of view, it doesn't really seem like the type of developer that Xbox has been trying to acquire things off of in the past as well. So I don't know. Do you want to jump in, Dad? Because you were.
Oh yeah, no. To get into like a little bit of the weeds there. Like, I do not think in my heart of hearts Phil Spencer would go, "Oh yeah. We'll still let you make literal gambling pachinko machines with the IP that we're buying."
Prior to you jumping on,
sure,
yeah.
I mean, it's just a lot of risk and a lot of money on a huge risk that they don't even know is going to come back. That's really going to pay off. Is the next Silent Hill game, like what you were saying, Bad? Is it going to be a banger? That's up in the air. Who knows, right?
Yeah. Again, if you're not having the original team or like someone that is going to respect or love that thing and it's unproven, it's like that. Those are seeds of doubt. And automatically absolutely. You need to prove wrong.
Yes. And when Xbox has, when Xbox was working with Platinum Games, right, to make Scalebound, they gave a lot of control over to Platinum Games and it never really worked out in their favor. So, I mean, for me personally, I think it would be a better idea for Xbox to acquire a small Japanese studio that is very, very talented and has, a track record of success, or is working on, a game that is just absolutely mind-blowing and insane and just a fantastic game, and try to acquire that studio outright, their IPs, the entire studio. That way they have all the control and they're not having any, risks that they can't control outside of their own business.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, I mean, look, it's very interesting conversation. Again, completely based on a post, which probably, again, is more than likely falsified in every which way. But you know what, Zemi, I just want to grab your attention to what both Bad Bit and I were talking about regarding building roots in Japan. Now, I think we've talked about it before, and we won't spend too much time on this because we have a huge topic to get to. But we know Microsoft wants a foothold in that region. They've been very public about that. Do you agree with both Bad Bit and I, where we say that a homegrown studio with roots into Japan might be their better way of building a more solid relationship with that community than just coming in like the big American company and saying, "Oh, small Japanese company, we want to buy you"?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think it could work either way, but yeah, I mean, in a way, building up your own studio in Japan, hiring the specific people that you want, I guess you kind of have a little bit more sway and what that game is really going to be like at the end of the day, rather than, acquiring a studio that possibly already has issues, right? Yes. There's already tensions between certain employees, certain departments or whatever, going and buying, or creating a brand new studio from the ground up, hiring people from all over, the different developers and everything like that. I think that would be a huge thing. And another thing that you were kind of, I think, touching on as well, and I think this kind of goes with making roots in that region as well, in a way, is making sure and maintaining that your company is getting these second party games away from Sony and onto their platform as well, as third, making second party into third party, and then acquiring all of these third party games on your platform that Sony has in a way kind of had as a quote unquote exclusive, but not really, right? I think that's a huge move as well.
And that is and not a lot of people like kind of think about it because they're like, oh yeah, like again, like I throw it out because it's the easiest one, but like having a Persona game on Xbox would be
that's huge. A big deal.
Absolutely,
it's a huge
and why
deal.
Should it not be, right? That's just a freebie to Sony. That is a free quote unquote exclusive, not really, but
exactly.
But it's a freebie to Sony. Why allow that continue whenever you can go in and try to get those games on your console as well?
And it is exciting as it is also a very expensive solution as well. So like, a lot of Japanese developers don't make games for Xbox because Xboxes don't sell in Japan.
Yeah.
So like you have to walk up to Atlas going, listen, I know our game or our systems sell like butt here, but here is a literal blank check that will just pay for the development and then some.
Yeah.
And that is an expensive ask, but it is so worth it in the long run if you can peel away people that like their Halo, like their Gears, like their Forza, like Ninja Theory, and then see, or get peeled away because they don't have any JRPG love. It's a very expensive ask, but I think that's what Microsoft needs to go for, is that individual developers make those deals with them and then get those, and then hopefully, again, this is not an overnight thing. This is a 5-10 year.
It goes back to after the promotion of Phil Spencer way back in 2017. He started getting over to Japan because the one thing that I have to say, whether you love the guy, which I do, or hate him, and that's fine if you do, Phil Spencer had a plan. And he has fulfilled his end of the deal tenfold. Now, again, some people will argue with me and say, well, just a second, boom. We need the games. And like I keep saying, those are coming. The games that you want, these AAA bangers that Sony has in an abundance, will be coming. You have to give these studios an opportunity to fail. If when said game comes out from Ninja Theory and it bombs, then you can boo Microsoft. If the coalition is creating a new IP and it bombs, you can boo them, and vice versa for every other system. But you have to give them an opportunity to make these games before passing judgment on the studios.
Can I add something else into there?
Sure.
So Bad was actually talking about how the Xboxes don't really sell all that well in Japan, and that might be a big reason why third-party games don't come to Xbox. And and I agree with that, but the times are changing once again because of xCloud. Because of how huge the mobile gaming is in the Asian market, I think that has a huge opportunity. And not only, are these players from this region going to be able to play Xbox games on their smartphone, it's going to be a heck of a lot more affordable than going out and paying, $60 for a game. Well, they would be spending their own currency, but you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, and again, I think you're 100% right. And someone just said in the chat, a few people said in the chat, like PSO2, like that is a perfect example of the seeds that Phil is beginning to sow. Like that is just a start, and I think Xbox fans respect it. I think, is that game going to do gangbusters? I hope, but probably not, but it's a start. And I think that's the most important thing, is it's a start. It is, you're seeing this vision becoming a reality of Xbox willing to go, listen, PSO is not going to be the biggest thing since sliced bread, but you know what? Fans want it. And let's give that to them. And I think that is, again, way more promising than anything Konami has, to me.
I agree. I agree. I think that the route that they're going is going to work out just fine without having to purchase Konami. Now, granted, if they wanted to potentially license out an IP for a title, even that's questionable, because what if that title becomes super popular? Let's say, for instance, Phil Spencer brings a blank check, sits down with the head of Konami, says, listen, we want to we're going to take the Silent Hill series and we're going to allow Ninja Theory to create the next Silent Hill. And you're like, holy shit, just a second now, right? So now the goosebumps starting to come out. But the problem is, what if that deal is for one game and that game becomes a AAA 93 meta bang? Success.
Yeah, it gives all the leverage to Konami to back up the price for the next license, or just to flat out buy the the IP, or maybe they want a bigger cut of the licensing agreement. Yeah, I mean, it gives all the leverage to Konami.
Yeah,
it does. Well, listen, this has been great. I mean, obviously, we went a little off kilter, which is I enjoy doing that, but I just want to catch up on a few of the super chats. First of all, I have to thank Semi. Thank you for hooking us up with that, because I would have definitely missed it. A very good friend of the show, Chaos Theory, actually drops an outstanding and very generous $2 super chat and says this: Animal Crossing, and this is going back, I'm sorry I missed this, dude, is Animal Crossing is what we need right now. Absolutely worth it. And yes, I'm gonna literally, as soon as the show is done, I'm gonna purchase my first Animal Crossing. I'm just gonna download it digitally, because I have, even if I hate it, my nephew Tyler will come over and I'm sure that he will play it and enjoy it just as much. And of course, CQ Yumi drops a $2 super chat. Thank you for your generosity, but more importantly, thank you for being here and supporting Double Barrel Gaming. And it says Konami has tons of classic IP, great for xCloud. Well, yeah, I agree there. I definitely agree, especially the side-scrolling stuff. Man, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But you know what? Let's get into the real nitty-gritty of today. Now, look, obviously, we talked about this before. In what's being named as one of the world's largest and most deadly pandemics, gaming has been at the forefront of discussion on both sides of the conversation. One side is using gaming as a way to escape the world's very serious issue. The other half of gaming is how being away from the development of the studio will impact game releases, and more importantly, how it would ultimately, potentially, affect the launch of the PlayStation 5 and Series X. Now, yes, this is an Xbox show, but when you talk about one, you kind of got to talk about the other. It's kind of like peanut butter and jelly. I don't like eating them separately, so I'm going to talk about them in the same sandwich, and that's what I'm going to do with both PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X in this particular topic. Now, in a story that I pulled from the pages of GameSpot.com, Xbox released a statement on the COVID-19's impact on exclusive game development, and Xbox Matt Booty, or Xbox head Xbox Matt Booty, says each studio is facing unique challenges and restraints. And this is echoing Xbox boss Phil Spencer, who previously stated that right now the health and safety of its development teams is Microsoft's top priority. Great to hear. Additionally, these types of challenges that Microsoft's development teams are facing are also impacting other developers around the world. Just recently, Bethesda delayed the much anticipated Wastelanders update for Fallout 76 due to the situation that's currently ongoing. Regarding specific titles, though, Matt Booty said that the team is support studio leaders are making the right decisions for their games and their teams during this very difficult time. And of course, this is the direct statement from Matt Booty regarding the situation. We know that gaming connects people during times of social distancing, and we are committed to delivering the highest quality Xbox Game Studio titles for our global community of players. At the same time, I should say, the health, the safety, and the importance of their individual situations for the Xbox Game Studios development teams is our top priority, and it absolutely should be. Each studio is facing unique challenges and constraints depending on its particular location, and many of our external development partners around the world are similarly affected. We are supporting our studio leaders to make the right decisions for their teams and their individual games during this challenging time. Now, this statement also comes in the wake of the Halo Infinite developer 343 Industries, who acknowledged that the C-19 situation may get worse before it gets better. And I think that's abundantly clear. And this is what they had to say regarding the development of Halo Infinite. We are removing all obstacles in our path and tracking well, but we need to be mindful of our current limitations and understand that the C-19 situation may get worse before it gets better. 343 said in a blog post, rest assured that every single one of us is doing everything in our power to continuing development continued developing and delivering high quality Halo experiences while we adjust to this new way of life. Now, obviously, this topic is big, and it's so big that I had to split it into two. And so what we're going to do is this first half of the topic, we're not going to talk about the actual delay or potential delay of both the Series X and the PlayStation 5. That's going to be the back half of this topic. Here is the question that I posed not only to the chat, of course, my very excellent panel members. And there's a lot to unpack on what we just discussed. And here are the two questions, guys. As gamers, should our expectations for the launch of particular titles be tempered? And more importantly, for this particular topic, is with Halo Infinite so important to both the platform and Xbox Series launch, should we also expect a delay? And if a delay does happen, would that hurt the game? So I'll go with Zemi Games first on this. Zemi, these are two simple questions, but I think they're gonna require very complex answers. What are your thoughts on both of them?
Well, I think first off, the expectation that I would like to see, I think a lot of people carry, is just to let these companies do what they need to do to ensure the quality of their products, right? And I think I think that this expectation or this mindset is important, no matter what, time we're in, what's going on, just by being a good human, right? But I think it's definitely more important with the whole, world climate now with C-19 going around and everything like that. And I've said this before on another topic that was similar but also different, that, if these consoles or if these games get canceled, you're not canceled, but delayed, it's going to be depressing. It's going to be sad, especially, for you and me and all the other people out there who are planning on going and dropping down our money day one as soon as we can to pre-order these systems and get them, right? But at the same time, having these delays is definitely better, in my opinion, than, having a below average product. And where Xbox is, concerned, Xbox really cannot stand, to have bad products coming out. They're just now coming out, showing us all the amazing things that they're doing. They've gained so much respect, from coming out of 2013 to coming now. Releasing bad products is not what they want to do right now. So to delay. I keep saying cancel. To delay them, if that's what they have to do, if that's what they have to do to not only ensure that their product is, of adequate, quality, but to also protect people's lives. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Of course, that's exactly what they should do. And I think, and I hope that everyone has that same expectation, that same mindset that, these games, yes, they're going to be fun. They're going to be amazing. Right. But we don't want anyone to die, because they had to go to work and they had to make these games. We don't want anyone, even if it's not the developer, even if it's the developer's grandmother or something, whatever it may be. We don't want them to die. Yeah. Right. And we don't want a below average product hitting the market of an IP that we love and we've been looking forward to for the last 2 years, right?
Absolutely.
So I think that should ultimately be the expectation. And I mean, was there a second question that I missed there?
No, I mean, you kind of hit because we were talking about the importance of Halo Infinite to the brand.
Sure.
And with the challenges they're currently facing, when they say temper your expectations, it makes me wonder if they're just preparing for a delay.
Yeah, I mean, and would it hurt the brand? I don't really know if it would really hurt the brand. It wouldn't help the brand any. I mean, because obviously they want to release Halo Infinite alongside their new console. And so, I guess in a certain way, it kind of, does hurt their marketing a little bit because they can't say, hey, Halo Infinite's going to be out day and date of the new console. But I think in the long run, it does more good than it does bad.
Yeah. Absolutely. So Mr. Baby, let me get you in on this. Obviously, this is a much different technology wise. This is a very pro remote work type of situation, but there are certain aspects with game development as well as filming. Like a lot of like right now, Hollywood is decimated. And all of I'm a big MCU fan, and all of their projects are just completely on hold because they have to be because of the world situation. So getting new content is probably unlikely for quite some time. In regards to gaming, especially something like a Halo Infinite, that's been in development for years now. So right now they could be just finishing up, if you will. The two questions that I have for you is, as gamers, as human gamers who have a conscience and who put people first, which you should we, with not just with not just Microsoft, but I think with all games moving forward, should we temper our expectations for a tremendous amount of delays because of the pandemic? But more importantly, do you think not being able to say Halo Infinite launched right alongside the Xbox Series X, could that potentially hurt the brand?
It's a layered question. So I'm gonna break this layer by layer. So In Exile's latest game that's coming out right now, it's being produced or published by THQ, Wasteland 3, right?
Yes.
Wasteland 3. They just announced that they're going to have a delay. I think the game was supposed to be out in May. It's going to be out in August. So knowing what is going on and how companies are shifting focus to in home or remote work, I know Sony just sent out not like a press release, but kind of said out loud that, hey, what we're doing here at Sony is we're literally paying for everybody. If they need a new computer, bam, just we'll buy it. Like
right.
If you are that type of, if you're a developer, if you're working at home, we'll just literally buy the computer, put it on your taxes next year, whatever. So Microsoft, no doubt, is doing the same exact thing. These developers are doing the same exact thing. And that costs time to move and how systems work. I know just production companies are like, it's tough to work at, non-remotely. Working from remotely is going to be intense for developers. So could Halo Infinite be delayed? Yes. It is also a reasonable thing to think it could be delayed. There's been internal shifts at the studios, so creative visions have changed. So I can't set a barometer of how close they are to the finish line. So not knowing how close they are to the finish line, yeah, it could be delayed. It could be a February release rather than a November release. Would that affect sales of the console? Probably. In all honesty, yeah. It means it would be launching out of the gate a little slower, but I think gamers would understand as to why. Like I would understand why, like that's a reasonable thing to say is like, hey, listen, we get it. Launching a console is important, but people's grandmas are important. People are important first. So it's not like if the Xbox Series X isn't or Lockhart, whatever, is it flying off the shelves for the first 3 months? Does that mean it's over for Xbox? No, it just means they have very small ground to cover that they'll no doubt cover when the second shipment of these consoles start coming in. I don't think it's going to be the Xbox One scenario where when that console came out, you could find it everywhere for months and you were already seeing them being discounted by like $50 a few months afterwards. I don't think that's the case. I do think that if Halo is delayed, then probably it would be coming out around February, March tax season of next year. And so they're still going to benefit from a huge influx of people that all of a sudden have a disposable income costing money at this thing. Mm-hmm. So, and when it comes to like the systems themselves, they're both made in the same factory. So if one's getting delayed, chances are the other one is too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, it's going to be interesting. I think there's going to be a tremendous amount of challenges. I think that Sony coming out and saying, yeah, no, we're buying the top of the line equipment for our developers is promising because they want their developers. I mean, obviously, the equipment that they're using at work is leaps and bounds better than I can guarantee you they have at home, because they don't do a lot of the work at home. They work from the office, and the office is where they have all this equipment. I agree with you that I think Microsoft is doing it or is in the process of already, preparing to get top of the line equipment, and like you said, just put it on the taxes that we had to buy this equipment to run our business from home because of the current situation. But let's get into the back half of this particular second part of the topic, and this is where we're going to get into some of the scenarios that I came up with regarding potential delays for both, not only the PlayStation 5, but the more importantly, because this is an Xbox show, the Xbox Series X. Now, obviously, the four scenarios that I wrote here are potentially game changing in ways that we're going to break down, and it could affect both Sony and Microsoft in ways that financially could put them on the cusp of winning the generation from the beginning, literally from the launch of a console, which we saw Sony do in this generation, or it could logistically. It could put either of the companies, should they play out this way, in a really, really bad spot. So let's get into the scenarios, and I'm going to read the scenarios, and I want to get the chat's opinion on this, and then of course I'm going to obviously get the panel's opinion. Here's scenario one: both companies launch on time, and those supplies will ultimately be limited. Both Sony and Microsoft will shed a little bit of light on what is one of the more darkest times in our history with these console releases. And I mean that in the most positive way, because a new release is not going to take away that so many people have already died. A new release isn't going to wipe away the pain that this world is currently feeling. But a new release of something in gaming, like two new consoles, will certainly be a boost for many who are suffering right now through depression and anxieties, and having a new console to have delivered to your house is going to be that shot in the arm that you as a person may or may not need. This is based on an individual preference. Here's scenario number two: Sony launches, and somehow the Xbox Series X is delayed, having the the PS5 take an early and huge lead. This would be the ultimate version of gaming history that many in the Sony camp want to see happen, and for good reason. With hardware out before Microsoft, it would be a damning blow to everything Phil Spencer and company have done up until this part. Hashtag Sony wins next gen. Holy shit. Now let's get to scenario number three. Microsoft is extremely ready for the next generation. And I come to this conclusion because Xbox staffers have had take-home units since early November of 2019, with AMD already confirming that the Xbox Series X will not be affected by the current C19 situation. The November launch goes off without a hitch, and with Sony not confirming many of what Xbox has already shown, like VRS, like quick resume, like quick load, not having DirectX 12 Ultimate, and of course, what the PS5 actually looks like, many in the gaming industry are asking, is Sony actually ready to launch in 2020? And no, they get delayed until 2021, opening the door for Microsoft to completely take a huge lead in the market. Now, here's scenario number four, and this is the one that's heartbreaking. Scenario four goes like this: both consoles are delayed until 2021, and we revisit this in the new year. This would be extremely disappointing, though with that said, the world is going to be very different once we are able to get this pandemic under control. So, gentlemen, I'm going to start with Mr. Badbit.
Yep.
Out of the 4 scenarios, and if you need me to reread one of them because you forgot, because I sometimes write these things not realizing that I have to speak them and then let people respond to them. So if it's too much, I'll reread one.
Oh, don't worry, I got the notes right here.
Okay, excellent. I forgot about that. So out of the 4 scenarios, what do you personally see is a more likely outcome, or do you have a scenario number 5 that trumps what I wrote?
For me, I think scenario number 1. I think if Microsoft and Sony are both saying they're going to be here holiday 2020, I think the telling time of what we're seeing right now is through the month of April and May. Wherever that goes, if we hit our apex or not, we will see how the economic and the societal outcomes of that turn of events happens here in November, if that made any sense. So I think both of them are going to come out on time. They're both going to be powerhouse consoles. I think if you're a PlayStation fan, you're going to like the PlayStation 5. If you're a big Xbox fan, you're going to love the Series X. And if you're like us, we're going to buy all of them, or our wallets are going to cry. Yeah. So to me, I think scenario 1 is the more probable. What I do think is going to be the outcome of that is both the pipeline for Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 will probably be delayed a little bit. So I think we're not going to see as many juggernaut games. Like, we're going to probably see, Halo Infinite. It's going to probably be awesome. And that'll hopefully land in the time that the system comes out. But whatever the other studios are probably making are going to see slight to noticeable delays, and both consoles are going to be extremely limited. The one thing that I do want to get out here is that I'm a PR guy. That's what I do. I understand what it takes to craft a message, even though sometimes that message is bad. When we take a look at the PlayStation or the Road to PlayStation 5 video, a lot of people are like, Joe, where's the PlayStation 5 stuff? I just always say the PR and marketing doesn't start for consoles, for the casuals, until E3, until June, July. That's when we're going to see all the stuff. So you're going to see what the PlayStation 5 looks like. You're going to see what, the Lockhart's going to be in time. I get it. In the moment, we're like, where is it? It's because right now, as a PR person, I know a lot of companies that are struggling from working remotely, from having to lay off some of their staff. It's really rough right now. And so to have a edited package to present either of these consoles at the moment is a very difficult thing. So to me, I think scenario 1, both consoles are going to come out, and to the dismay of some, both consoles are going to be absolutely fine.
Yeah, that's actually great point. Real quick, I have to thank Aaron JF94 for the outstanding and very generous $2 super chat. And he says this: if they delay Halo, I'd still buy a Series X, day one. Yeah, I think you are right there with a lot of people. I have yet to miss a major console launch, and I've been gaming since 1978, folks. So yeah, I get excited for gaming, especially console launches, and I'm hoping that the scenario 1 is what we see. I am going to inform, and again, I don't think I'm really saying anything you don't already know, but because of the limits of the limitation of how many consoles are going to be available, I am telling you right now, have your credit card / GameStop gift cards or cash you've been putting away ready at the helm. Yeah. So when these things go to pre-order, you better pre-order them, because you are going to be asked out if you do not get in on the first round. And of course, if you are a person who frequents eBay for selling things, if you get your hands on one, you're probably going to make 3 times the amount, because I'm not saying I don't like that kind of behavior, but this is the world, and people make. So, and
for me, I think my mom just yelled, I'm sorry. The thing that also goes to show, and I am very much, I don't like fanboy rhetoric. I think it's dumb. I think it's destructive. I think it makes people look stupid.
Yes.
When it comes to who's going to outsell who, it really does not. It never mattered, but to see, is Xbox going to outsell PlayStation? PlayStation going to outsell Xbox? It doesn't matter, not just because it doesn't affect you and you're not making any money off of it. It's just validating a piece of plastic you bought. Not only that, but the metric has changed to what success for a platform means when it comes to Xbox and their platform. Someone in the chat said it. Xbox is making bank right now.
Yeah, they are.
The least consoles sold. It's because of things like Game Pass that are pushing that platform forward. So really, in a few years from now, we're going to see the power that is the Azure cloud in services like Game Pass in that platform perspective that I think Phil Spencer has been touting for years. And I think they're going to be making a crap ton of money. So I don't think, what unit's going to sell more is going to be the metric that we're all noticing. And I really hope the pissing contest of like whose box sold more really just ends, because it's just so dumb. Yeah,
no, it's definitely silly, but great point, Zemi. Let's get you in here, Zemi. Obviously, I put out 4 scenarios. Now, you don't necessarily have to agree with any of them. You might have a scenario 5 that better suits your opinion. What do you see playing out in holiday of 2020?
Well, I mean, I think all 4 scenarios are likely, or not likely, but possible. Like, they're plausible. Like, they could happen. But for me, I think what is most likely to see is we see both consoles come out at the, around the same time when they were planned, or maybe pushed back, a few weeks or whatever it may be, but around the same time, right? Gamers go out, they buy whichever they want. I think all of us are going to buy both, but I think that is the most likely scenario. But talking about the other scenarios, I think it was the 4th scenario where maybe both of them don't come out. If that is the case, then, we're all going to be we're all going to be upset, right? But it's not really going to have that much of an impact on the overall success of these consoles, right? Because they're both dealing with the same issue at that point. But just to kind of touch point on, I think what is probably going to be the 2 maybe least likely scenarios, one gets canceled and the other one doesn't. For instance, you were talking about the PlayStation, like what if it didn't get delayed? See, there we go. See, I keep saying canceled, right? But let's just say like the PlayStation doesn't get delayed and the Xbox does. I don't think it's going to have that big of an impact. And the reason I say that is because Xbox will still have the power, but more importantly to the power, they will still have the choice if the Lockhart rumors are correct. And, also with xCloud, and they also have the price. Once again, if the Lockhart is correct, and does come out. And then on the flip side, if Xbox comes out and the PlayStation is delayed, I once again do not think it's going to be that huge of a disadvantage to PlayStation, for the simple reason that they kind of seem like they need more time to get their ducks in a row as it is right now. That's just the perception. I think a lot of us kind of see that. But more importantly to that, and then this also kind of goes with the whole Xbox, getting delayed and PlayStation doesn't. During the 360 generation, Xbox came out first. PlayStation came out later and was overpriced. And PlayStation still sold more consoles than the 360, right? So just because a console comes out later does not mean that it's not going to be able to bounce back. And Sony has already shown that they were able to do it before. So if Sony's delayed this time, they can definitely bounce back from it. And all the time that they have will probably make their product even better. And because Sony has already done it before during the 360 generation, who's to say Xbox couldn't do it this generation if they were delayed? So I don't think that there's any huge, absolutely, I guess, earth-shattering scenario where either of these consoles is at such a huge disadvantage they cannot put that crown, the king of the generation, on their heads at the end of the generation.
And to just bounce from that too, like what you said with the PS3, it's just a fact. Look at Wikipedia. It literally takes 30 seconds. It's like, it's like I think the numbers is like 88 to 87 million. Like
it's so close, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And
But
at the end of the day, the perception is who won that generation.
well, another thing that you also have to remember, and I don't think a lot of people think about this, the 360 Red Ring of Death. I had to buy 4 Xbox 360s, and I never once bounced over to PlayStation. And I know that there's a lot of people, in my boat as well. And I think PlayStation did have some problems as well, but Xbox was definitely more highlighted during that. So of those numbers, how many of them are rebuys for consoles that broke?
Yeah, that's always a weird like conversation to have. And again, like at the end of the day, 360 made bank, and we all perceive that 360
Absolutely.
on that generation. But then
Absolutely.
when you take a look at the Wii and the shovelware that we like to make fun of it, Nintendo was printing cash.
They were printing money. Let me ask you something. I know just a little off. How many of those Carnival games did you buy for the Wii? I bought at least 2.
Dude, for me, I was high school, right? I know it might make y'all feel a little old there.
That's
I
okay.
was in high school, and when we got the Wii, it was literally like 6 months with Wii Sports, and then I was just 360 was my jam, man. Like, Gears 1 is still
Fantastic.
one of my favorite games of all time. Like, Rainbow Six, New Vegas, and Vegas 2 were fantastic.
Favorites.
Reach, Halo 3, damn.
But like the main purpose of using that as an example is just to kind of show that just because you come out late does not mean that you're not going to have an amazingly successful run in that console generation.
Yeah.
And you can completely bounce back from that. So if either of those two scenarios happen, whether the Xbox gets delayed, the PlayStation comes out, or the PlayStation gets delayed and the Xbox comes out, if either of those two happen, I don't think it's going to be as big of a game changer that a lot of people probably think it is going to be, because just looking at the history of console gaming, companies can bounce back from that.
No, it's look, it's going to be very interesting to see. I think that with both Sony and Microsoft coming out and spearheading the conversation in regards to, yes, we will be ready for the fall regarding the new consoles, it gives me tremendous hope that we will see them. Because I have been putting gift cards away since September of last year, I am ready to literally pay for at least half of each console right now. And I cannot wait to be able to do that. I want to lock it in. I'm buying it from GameStop, even though many of the smaller stores, they're closing 300 of them, and that's a shame. They're still going to be open online. So if I have to have mine delivered, I'll just pay the $28 for overnight shipping, whatever it's going to be. I will be getting it day one, though I still like going into the store to pick up my stuff, but we don't know if that's going to be a scenario later this fall. Hopefully within, 30 to 90 days, we will have this thing, somewhat under control, and we can, there'll be a vaccine to fight it, and we'll be much better off towards the end of this, looking, at the light at the end of the tunnel, which there is, folks. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Again, talking real world talk here. We are all here. We are all here together. We are all going to beat this thing together. And look, I'm going to say this. This has been an amazing 90 minutes. Bad Bit, it was once again great. Absolutely fantastic to have you on. We definitely got to get you on more shows, because I definitely do enjoy your opinion, but more importantly, respect your opinion when you're talking about gaming. So let's get everyone out of here so we can go continue. I have to go buy Animal Crossing, damn you. So, Mr. Badbit, you got some stuff going on in your outstanding YouTube channel. Where could people find you on social media? But more importantly, check out what you got going on.
So first and foremost, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure. It's always a blast chatting with you, because it is always positive. There is no BS there. We're always having a fun, good, amazing time, regardless of the platform. So you can find me over at Bad Bit Games, where we talk about all things game news, reviews, unboxings, and you can find my podcast all about PlayStation, The Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players, with my best friend Kyle, each and every Thursday. You can find that on Bad Bit Games on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your RSS feed. We are 5-star reviews away from 69 reviews on iTunes, which means we'll be super cool. So with that said, yeah, again, a pleasure as always, man. And yeah, last week on the trophy, we talked a lot about Animal Crossing because it's an addiction. It's become an addiction.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely get down with it. I'm looking forward to playing it. It looks like a lot of fun. A lot of people are enjoying it. And it comes out at a time, like Chaos Theory said, that we need something lighthearted and fun. And that looks like that's going to hit on all cylinders. And of course, my co-host with the co-most is, of course, Zemi Games. Zemi, you obviously have a tremendous amount of stuff going on, not only on your channel, but you have been more active. And I'm proud of you on social media, especially on Twitter. Let's get out there and rah-rah this, guys. First of all, where can people find you on Twitter, interact with you through DMs, but more importantly, check out your outstanding and competent YouTube channel?
Well, thank you so much, man. I mean, this podcast was amazing. I love these topics; they were fantastic, and I can't wait for Thursday's show. It's gonna be great. I mean, all this, I'm just excited. Anyway, you guys can check me out on Twitter at Zimmy Games. My DMs are always open. I usually post things like if I come out with a new video, or if I see something that just really I guess catches my attention, I usually post something about that, and I also retweet and all that different stuff. But my DMs are always open, and I always look forward to any community members sending me a message. Maybe you heard something on the show today that you agreed, maybe you disagreed. Feel free to throw me a message. I love talking to you guys about that. You guys can also find me on YouTube. The name is Zimmy Games. I do a bunch of gaming reviews, gaming news, some Let's Plays here and there. So definitely check out that channel. And if you like what you see, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Boom. Thank you so much. Another amazing show.
Well, thanks so much for being here, dude. Super appreciate it. I want to thank the chat for being here. We had over 115, which is great considering that the fucking YouTube, pardon my French, is just not helping the little guy out. It's frustrating. You spend as much time as I do writing, and you put your heart and soul into these shows, which I do. Every one of them, I do not shoot from the hip. This is all well planned usually well in advance. And to have no one be able to get notified is as frustrating to a content creator as we can be. We've seen this on Salty's show. We've seen this on Crossfire. We've seen this on the Iron Lords podcast, which, by the way, if you missed it, they had freaking Bill Stillwell from Microsoft on, and no one tuned in. It is disgraceful that YouTube allows this to continue to happen. And I think what's more frustrating than anything is the silence. Listen, we're all content creators here, but we're not monsters. We understand that currently you can't have people all jammed up in the office doing things. We understand people are getting sick. No one is taking that away. But the silence, without letting their content creators know that there's a problem, is aggravating. Putting your head in the sand and pretending that you not to hear us is even worse. So YouTube, if you do hear this, please send us each a message. We get these little notifications about how we're going to get fined $43,000 if we try to put our site as being not for kids. You can at least send us a private message and say, hey, listen, FYI, we're having problems here with the notifications, because that's all the messages I've been getting. I have about 30 of them that I haven't even answered. Hey, boom, I didn't know. It's ridiculous. But on a high note, let me just wish everyone safety. Let me wish everyone love, of course. And I just want to say, go out there, play games, enjoy whatever console you enjoy gaming. Don't be a troll. Be better. Be a better human being in a time where right now we need better human beings. And I'm going to close out the show, which I do almost every time, of two things that are more important now than ever. And they were taught to me when I was a real young kid from my pop. He says this: treat others how you want to be treated. Super, super simple, but has so much weight. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. I can guarantee you that if you live by these rules, you will have an awesome day. Take care, everyone. Be safe. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.